Yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
Are you ready? You think you could tell us what to do? You think you could tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down! Degenerate into something fool. We just got tired of doing what you told us to do. That's a break, boy. Yeah, that's a break, little man. Break it down.
From coast to coast, representing all the Dogtown, this is the Brownstown USA podcast, powered by the three-point conversion. The three-point conversion, where fans' opinions matter. I'm Eric, and over there is LA.
Hello, welcome to Brownstown USA, and I don't know what the heck is going on, and Eric did not tell me that he was going to decide to sing, so I apologize in advance for you guys' eardrums and how that might have hurt. Now, getting to some better things, guys, and gracing your eardrums with better vibes. We have an action-packed show, but before we get to the action-packed show, Eric, I just want to admit, man, I know that we had our post-game show of beating those Carolina Panthers and, it was Victory Monday and all of that. But, I feel like it's like Victory Week. Like, this entire week I've been kind of just, walking with a little bit of a edge. I'm feeling a little dangerous, when I leave the house more often now.
That's the funny thing about all this. I mean, look, Cleveland is starting to become winners again. Like, the Indians are doing well, provided it looks like they're about to go into a rebuild. The Cavaliers are getting ready to go into a rebuild. All of a sudden, the best team in the city, it's like we're back in the 80s. The Browns right now are looking like the best team. And
right, and if anybody knows Cleveland, we are a blue-collar town, and I'm not going to say I'm from Akron, but we know that this area in general is a blue-collar town, and we definitely love our football. I mean, God bless LeBron James. I rock with him from my city, doing a lot for my city, but at the same time, there's nothing better when the Browns are actually winning. We're just a football town, man. That's what it is.
It really is. I mean, it's crazy just because when you get to it, I mean, the best way to put it is there's certain cities that have something. Like, for example, Green Bay is a football city. Let's see. Milwaukee's a beer city. Boston is a baseball city. Cleveland, yes, we have the Indians who have been around longer. Yes, we have the Cavaliers who have had the most success, or the most recent success anyways. But the thing is, you can ask anybody, and and the first thing they'll tell you, but if you say Cleveland sports, if they don't say LeBron James, 95% of the time they're going to say the Cleveland Browns, and then they'll bring up either some of the just dreck that we've had from just too many names to go off of. Just go Google the jersey, or
Absolutely.
they'll bring up the Bernie Kosar, Marty Schottenheimer era Browns.
Yeah, I mean, we have Kosar, Brian Sipe. There's definitely a rich history here, but I mean, man, if Baker does this, and that actually goes into a question that we'll answer a little bit later. Came across a very good question, but again, like you said, everybody, you're listening to Brownstown USA, and what we have coming up for you is, of course, we have our doggy bag section coming on a little bit later by questions that you guys have asked, and we're gonna answer them for you. So thank you so much for that. But we're gonna talk about some final thoughts from the Panthers game if we have any. Injury news, what's trending with the Browns right now, and then we're gonna definitely dive into the Denver game that we got coming up on Saturday, and then then we'll close it out with our score predictions, man, and get up off the air and get ready for this game coming up on Saturday. So, Eric, I wanted to share something with you because sometimes people can be, let's just be blunt here, idiots. Okay? So, I'm on Twitter, and
well,
there's
your first problem right there.
Hey, look, this is what we got to do. But I'm on Twitter, and of course, we, Baker came out and said he wanted fans to be there at that final home game, against the Bengals. And we talked about that in last show. And if you guys didn't catch that, make sure you go back and listen to the previous show. That was our post game of the Carolina Panthers. But Baker came out and said that he wanted fans to show up in the stadium. So, of course, with that being said, everybody started to look at the attendance of the Panthers game and started to comment on if there were actually people in the stadium, if it was empty, yada, yada, whatever. So, of course, we know I had an opportunity to attend that game. And what I noticed, Eric, is that the stadium was packed, okay? But the top of the stadium, like going towards the very top, there were some empty seats up there. Now, mind you, and I said this on Twitter to one of our good buddies, friend of the show, Jeremy in Akron, Orange is Oranger podcast. Make sure you check it out. He had tweeted out saying that the stadium wasn't that empty and everybody is just overblowing it. And I was like, I agree. A lot of the fans were late coming in. So when I said a lot of the fans were late coming in, another guy responded to me and said, oh, they were late coming in. That can't be accurate. And I was like, well, I don't know how much more accurate I could be. I was there and I see people coming in. And it was a lot of traffic, and a lot of people were walking far. Like, I mean, they were parking to get cheap parking. Then they were walking far to the stadium. I mean, over 2 or 3 miles, some of these people. So they were packing the stadium a little bit later. By second quarter, it was pretty full.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy responds back to me and says, I can't believe that. I mean, how are you going to be late to a game? Like, are these people late to work every day? And I was like, wow, serious much? And then I replied back, like, absolutely people are late to work every single day. What do you mean? For most jobs, people have like a 10-minute buffer, that they have as far as they're supposed to be there at 8. Some jobs don't penalize you until you're like there at 8:05 or 8:10. And some people I know, especially when I worked, they used to be late every single day and use that buffer. As and I had to get on them as a manager, like, hey, look, that's not a buffer for you to use deliberately, but just there just in case of an emergency. But this guy just took it way completely over to the left and was like, how can people be late to games? And then proceeded to ask me, well, are they going to be late to the playoff games as well if we make the playoffs? Now, I already know the people listening to this show is probably like scratching their head like, what? But Eric, I just wanted to get your response and just ask you, was I off here? Or should us as fans be more accountable and be at games on time?
Look, I mean, let's be honest here. When you go to a football game, there's about a 90% chance you're going to be late in some capacity, whether it's missing the national anthem, whether it's missing the player introductions, or even missing the first quarter and missing part of the first drive. That's just the nature of the game. I mean, people want to get that last beer in because they can't bring it inside the stadium. They want to eat that last bratwurst that they have right in the parking lot. Look, people
Not this guy.
No, this is
He said he never misses the national anthem. He's always there, on time.
How do I have a feeling that this is the guy that when he invites people to a party, he expects them to leave on the dot. Like the minute that it gets to 11:59 and 59 seconds, he's like, "Oh, everybody out! Nope, no, okay, time to go. Time for me to go to bed. Get out. No." And then if somebody's there at like 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. with 1 second, he's on his knees going, "No!" Seriously, dude, get a life. People are always gonna be late. It's just human nature. I mean, look, and besides that, if you're comparing going to a Browns game to your job, I want your job then, because I would love to get paid to do that.
Absolutely. So that's just a little bit as far as what I've been dealing with. I know that you deal with stuff all the time, and guys, it's a catch-22 being Eric's friend, because he has access to your Facebook Messenger, and he will randomly screenshot stuff and just send it to you out of nowhere.
You do the same damn thing.
So anywho, let's hop into this show, man. Now, I had the opportunity, Eric, to kind of rewatch a little bit of that Panthers game on a nice website that does NFL replays.
Yeah.
And just to look at it from being there live and now watching it on TV, I must say Baker Mayfield's throws were still as special as ever. And I was just really in awe by his quarterback play, and the stats really didn't tell the full story.
I completely agree. I mean, when you watch how he plays, he reminds me a lot and a little bit of Russell Wilson, like, in a way. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's the next Russell Wilson, he's going to win a Super Bowl next year, or he's going to be the next this or that. No. Stop with the comparisons. I've said this before. If you're going to make a comparison about how somebody plays, and it's post-draft, then you're crazy. I mean, look, people were saying that Tim Tebow was going to be the next Tom Brady. I've heard that comparison. How'd that work out? I remember people compared Ryan Leaf to being the next big thing in the NFL. How did that work out? Like, the thing is, comparisons are good for when you're drafting. After that, all hell is going to break loose. So, but the thing is with Baker, he's a special kind of talent because he does have the arm strength that wasn't really touted, really. Because people were saying, oh, he doesn't have that great of an arm. Really? Because that nice 66-yard pass to Rashard Perriman, as well as that deep bomb to Landry, prove otherwise.
Absolutely, and that was the big thing that was getting tweeted, is that, how about Baker and that arm that he doesn't have? I mean, people are retweeting it like crazy. And that actually brings up another point. I don't know if you had a chance to catch it, but did you see that Colin Cowherd kind of backtracked on what he was saying about Baker recently?
Here's the thing. I did see that, but the thing is, that's actually not the vibe I got at all from him. The vibe
what did you take from it?
What?
I said, really, what did you take from it?
I take it that he's still not giving Baker the credit he deserves, believe it or not. I saw some of it, but it sounded more like he was just saying, good job, John Dorsey. You proved me wrong. And he was praising John Dorsey a lot for it. It didn't sound. I didn't get the impression that he's like, oh yeah, because keep in mind, last week he was crapping on Baker hard. And you know what? That's the thing that bothers me. He keeps saying Baker could be a good NFL quarterback, a good one, but he hasn't proven himself, even though he's gone against some good teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could definitely see where you're coming from on that point. That's a very, very good point. And Colin is, hate him or not, he's very crafty and masterful with his words and his wording. Mm-hmm. So Now that you broke it down like that, I definitely see that happening. And to be honest with you, I couldn't be more happy, Eric. We know what type of guy Baker is. You remember me comparing him to Michael Jordan in our previous show, that he's the kind of guy that just needs the motivation. I mean, he will find the motivation even if he has to make believe that you said that he was a terrible quarterback, he will do it. And that's just the kind of thing that gets him up in the morning, that makes him great. So I have no problem with Colin still throwing shade, because all that's going to do is continue to feed the beast. And I actually tweeted this out before too, that, I was hoping that Baker doesn't win the offensive rookie of the year, because I think he'll take it as an insult, and it'll be like the Hulk, that it'll make him angry. And you know how the Hulk is. The angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger he gets, the better he gets. So I'm all for it.
Absolutely. I mean, part of the thing with Baker is that he always is going to view himself as the underdog. And you know what? That kind of mentality with how he plays the game is, for lack of a better word, it's perfect. I mean, look, when you see yourself as the underdog, because remember, this was the guy that at this point last year, we weren't talking about him as a first-round pick. We were talking about him as like a third or fourth round pick. This was a guy that ended up losing his job to Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. So what's he do? Or sorry, was it? No, it wasn't Mahomes. It was It was Davis Webb, I think. One of them. He lost his job to a different quarterback, and that was after he was a walk-on. So what does he do? He goes to another school, a bigger school that's harder to get into, not only walks on, but knocks out their starting quarterback. The thing is, when you have that underdog mentality and you can use it as a strength, you're going to go places.
Very true. Very true. So just wanted to, like I said, kind of go over that a little bit. Put a little tweak. We dove into the Panthers game in full length on our post-game show. We have moved Brownstown USA back to 2 shows a week. So that means I get to chat with this beautiful gentleman across from me twice a week now on air. Hey there. And, and so make sure you check that out, the 3-Point Conversion Radio. So what we're going to do, Eric, is we'll take a quick break. And when we get back, we were going to talk about the injury news, because we have 2 big names that we're kind of keeping watch over. What's trending with the Browns, and we'll see what else pops up.
Yeah.
This is Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
The best things in life are right here in Cleveland. There are friendly people near. Getting around is easy here. We're a town where great things happen all year. You can live in the country and be minutes from town. Catch a show, grab some nightlife, or just shop around. The best things in life are right here in Cleveland. From the flats to the Cleveland Zoo. From the Playhouse to Caramel. We're a big league city with little leagues too. University Circle.
And we are back, Brownstown USA. I'm LA, and across from me is my main man, Eric, and we just got done putting some final touches on the Panthers game, and of course talking about some craziness that I've encountered on Twitter. But hey, it's Twitter, like Eric said. But let's jump into this injury news, because the 2 big names that we're watching for on the injury report right now, and the latest one has not been sent out yet. That normally comes later on this afternoon. But everybody's been definitely keeping watch to see if Denzel Ward is out of concussion protocol, and also keeping a watch on Larry Ogunjobi with his biceps. Now, Ogunjobi was able to practice yesterday, limited, and we have every notion that he is just going to keep pressing forward with that bicep issue. Everybody else, it seems like they're full participants in practice, except for one big name, Eric, and that is Denzel Ward. Denzel Ward remains in concussion protocol, and honestly, from what I've been hearing, Eric, I'm not sure if he's going to be available for this Denver game.
No, like, the thing is, today would be the deadline for it. So it seems slim to none. If he didn't practice today, I think he'll be back. He'll have to at least miss one more week. That said, it sucks because one of the things that we're definitely going to need is the cornerback help because of who the quarterback is for the Broncos. I mean, is he great? No, we'll get more into this as we go on, but he's smart. So when you have a smart cornerback, a smart quarterback, you need a smart cornerback.
Absolutely. And you were right. I was just doing some fact checking for you that was Patrick Mahomes that took over for Baker at Texas Tech. So good job there. But yeah, like you said, today is the deadline. The more pressured part of it is the fact that the team travels to Denver on Thursday. They're going to try to get up there to get used and acclimated to that Denver mile high air that everybody talks about with the air being thinner and stuff. They want to kind of get used to all that. So they're going to actually take off on Thursday. So it actually puts even more pressure to see if we can get Ward back. And honestly, with the league being so careful with the concussions, we've seen really as a trend, Eric, that more often than not, when a player goes out for concussion protocol, they're usually out for about 2 games. It seems like as a standard kind of baseline for concussions. They want to make sure that they're really, careful with this because of everything that's going on. And I don't know, I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I'm not sure like how that Denver air would affect it. I don't know if it'll be any different. I guess we could throw out all kinds of conspiracy theories on that, but I want to ask you this, like how much of an impact will that matter on this game that he's not available?
Well, we've seen TJ Carey pick up some of the slack, but he hasn't been able to pick up a whole lot of it. Britton Bodie-Calhoun hasn't looked bad, but I wish we would just stop having him play as backup safety. Guy's a good slot guy. And then I believe EJ Gaines is still playing. Is he hurt? Okay. All right. I thought I just remember that nasty injury. So.
Well, I had bit my tongue on him last week, but I'm pretty sure I thought I seen him in the game. But he's not on any kind of injury reports or anything like that. So I mean, yeah, he's still out there.
We have people that can pick up the slack. The problem is Ward has looked like a special kind of talent to the point that people are saying he's going to finish in the top 5 for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, it sucks, but you know what? I mean, we have to just move on, I guess. I mean, the one nice thing is at least we have Terrence Mitchell back to at least take up the number 1 guy.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing that I was going to say is that Terrence Mitchell is back, and that is what actually helps out the most from that. So it's softened the blow. Also, we've had a lot of injuries in that backfield. So a lot of people have went down, whether it was Mitchell, whether it was Ward, whether it was Gaines. There's a lot of stuff there that we've had to deal with back there, and it seemed like that whole entire secondary has just had that next man up mentality. I mean, we've thrown all kinds of guys back there. I want to say, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I want to say it was like Phillip or something like that.
Yeah, Phillip Gaines.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, we have picked up him. We picked up a lot of people to throw back there. So it's kind of been plug and play. I'm not too worried, especially with the fact that, and we'll get into this a little bit more with, Emmanuel Sanders not being there now. I'm not too afraid of, them just passing all over us, pretty much. So I think it's going to be better that way.
Honestly, I'm more worried about what's going on with Larry Ogunjobi because the thing is, Denver's got a good running back right now. I mean, they got that diamond in the rough running back, and if Ogunjobi can't at least clog up part of the middle, then this is going to hurt.
Yeah. And we'll get more into that a little bit later with our analysis, but that's kind of just the injury news as of right now. Again, we're recording this a little bit earlier in the day, and the final injury news normally comes out a little bit later on in the afternoon. So make sure you hop over to Brownstown USA on Facebook. Normally put the injury report out. Definitely will do a lot better at doing it on the Twitter handle as well. So make sure you follow Brownstown USA on Twitter too.
Keep it locked.
So let's talk a little bit about what's trending with the Browns. Now, I came across something that was very interesting, and I want to say our good friend, well, I hope that one day he's a good friend, Peter Schrager from Good Morning Football said this. He said that no single player in the NFL has done more for a fan base than Baker Mayfield. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I would say that Baker's a top 5. I can't say he's not, and I can't say that, though, to be honest. I mean, my thing is this. There's one quarterback in today's NFL that has done more for his city than Baker has, and that's Drew Brees. I mean, look, I get it. Baker Mayfield has rejuvenized the Browns. He's brought stability to the quarterback position, it seems. But considering everything that happened with Hurricane Katrina, I believe there was other stuff that did happen. I think there was another hurricane. With all the stuff that Drew Brees did for the city of New Orleans. Plus, let's be honest, it also had the greatest Super Bowl moment of all time. Drew Brees running out onto the field for their first Super Bowl, this first season after the hurricane.
Again, this is what kind of makes me afraid a little bit, and you could say it's being a Browns fan or whatever like that. But as my good buddy Hayden Grove said last night, I was tuning in on one of his things, is that we were fans, I believe, but now that we are covering them and talking more about them, we have to be objective. So we're gonna give you the truth. We're not gonna give you some old fanboy answer or anything like that. So if that's what you want the fanboy answer, don't listen to this show. Well, I ain't gonna say don't listen to the show. Just maybe listen a little bit, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying.
Skip this part of the show.
Let me rewind that back. Listen to the show, but we're gonna give you honest opinions because we're more so now media, but we were fans. You know what I'm saying? Like we have that love there. So to make this point, Drew Brees, first of all, they had the hurricane. Cleveland has not had a hurricane, so there's nothing that's really going to top that there. Secondly, Drew Brees won a Super Bowl. Baker hasn't even came close to that. We're still trying to mathematically do long division and Pythagorean theorems and stuff like that to even get in the playoffs right now. We haven't even sniffed it yet. So the only time that I can say that we could actually go ahead and do that is if Baker gets us to the Super Bowl and wins the Super Bowl. Then you can go ahead and start talking like that. But that's the thing that scares me, Eric, is the fact that this guy, he's only, what is it? Is his 8th game now?
Mm-hmm.
And we're already throwing out these type of statements. I don't want that yet. I want everybody to just take a chill pill, okay? The guy looks good. He looks the part. But let's just take a chill pill, man. You can't sit up here and put that guy up against the Super Bowl winning QB. And a Super Bowl winning QB that had a hurricane in his town, okay? He had a hurricane.
The worst we've had was LeBron James leaving the team twice.
I mean, there's another player that I could actually say that I don't know if he even beats him out. But I can't say that Baker beats out J.J. Watt in his meetings.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, look, this was a guy that, and everyone knows that, he's a beast on the field. But every time he's been hurt, the first thing you hear is all the charity work he's done. Seriously, I mean, there's nobody like that. I mean, I'll say this. I think that Baker's starting to pass Cam Newton a little bit no disrespect to Cam. I mean, yeah, I get the ball thing, but I don't know. There's some stuff I do question with Cam still. But J.J. Watt's a definite. Breeze is a definite. And I'm trying to think if there's really anybody else. I was going to say Jim Kelly, but I don't know about that.
Well, the point is that I think this is a little bit too premature. If he brings the Super Bowl there, let's talk about it then. So, getting into what else is trending right now is that Demarius Randall, we basically seen him come out and say that if the Browns make the playoffs, we can shock the world. Now, Demarius Randall, we seen him come out and make some bold statements. The NBA Finals, him promising to buy jerseys if the Cavaliers were able to beat the Golden State Warriors. It didn't really go that well with the fan base. But he did come back recently within the last – I think I heard the interview this week. And he said that he felt he was wrong about that. And he loves being in Cleveland. And he feels like his play and what he's done on the field now and us seeing him with the charity and stuff like that being out in the city – that he's won back over the fans. So, Eric, is this Demarius Randall just running his mouth again? Or do you actually feel that if Cleveland were to make the playoffs that they could shock the world?
You know what? I think this isn't him running his mouth to be honest. I think that part might be, but I actually do think there is a love for Cleveland right now because we've seen both him and Terrence Mitchell, who are in their first years here, just come out and say that they love the city, they love the organization, and honestly, it sounds like they'll be back next year, that they want to come back. So my thing is this. I think part of it is running his mouth, but it's not as bad as, oh, this is going to get me roasted. It's not as bad as Terrell Pryor opening his mouth when he said the Browns were gonna win out.
Yeah, and I don't like to speak about other, players that ain't on the team. So I'm gonna address this. I'm gonna leave you alone with that one. But I don't feel like it's him running his mouth. I do love the confidence. You want to be confident like that. You want to have that chip on your shoulder. But at the same time, Eric, we have seen that the proof is in the pudding. You have playoff teams that we faced this year already, and we weren't able to do anything with them at all.
Let's be honest. In all but
Kansas
one
City
of them,
Chiefs.
we got smoked.
Right. Kansas City Chiefs, Chargers.
Yep, smoked. Texans. We were like putting a pig in a barbecue. The only
second matchup against the Steelers.
The only playoff team that we really did anything against was the Saints, and honestly, if we played them again, I think we'd get smoked. Right.
So with all that being said, I'm just like, man, I love the enthusiasm, and of course, any given Sunday. But as of right now, I just really want us to just focus on winning out, man. Just focus on winning out, take it a day at a time, because this team that we're facing next, the Denver Broncos, they were able to beat the teams that we couldn't beat already. So let's just focus on who's in front of us right now. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm saying. So with that being said, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into this Denver Broncos game because I'm excited. Prime time, baby. Saturday. Prime time. Okay. I'm going to calm down. We're going to take this break. We'll be right back. This is Brownstown, USA. And we are back.
Terrible play.
Eric is pouring water over his head.
To the 28-yard line.
No, I'm not pouring it. I'm just having a sip of some yummy Poland Springs. Poland Springs, please sponsor us.
Yes, I'm like, we're going to have to stop giving people shout-outs. But, anywho, so we just got done talking about what's trending with the Browns and, of course, injury news. Now, let's hop into this Denver game. Eric, Denver offense has been somewhat of a question mark, man. They've been surprising, right? We knew that Emmanuel Sanders was balling out for them. Now he's gone. And then you have this undrafted rookie running back come out of nowhere and just start torching everybody. So talk a little bit to me about this Denver offense and like what have you seen about it? Is there anything that just jumps out to you that's gonna frighten you?
The only thing that really worries me is Philip Lindsay. I mean, look, Freeman's been okay, but he's clearly not what people were expecting. Lindsay's come out of nowhere, and he's looking like he's going to be this year's Kareem Hunt minus kicking somebody. I'll be honest, the passing game, ouch. I mean, this was a passing, and beginning of the year, you had Cortland Sutton, Demaryius Thomas, and Emmanuel Sanders. We are now in the spot that we are, and all they have left is, at this point, Cortland Sutton, who is their best receiver. And the problem is, and I've said this since really Denver signed Case Keenum. Keenum is a smart quarterback. He can pick apart defenses methodically, but he needs to have his options. He doesn't. He has an option with one or two okay players, but he doesn't have that great, and he doesn't have his Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen anymore. He has Cortland Sutton, who still has some rookie growing pains, but he's been
True. And, just looking over the numbers, crazy enough is that we're actually pretty evenly matched when it comes to looking at the offensive side of the ball. They don't really throw out that many points. They're sitting at smack dab averaging 22 points, just like we're averaging 22 points. And I think that our average is a little bit lower just because of the fact of how bad we started off the first part of the season. So it has nothing to do with what we've been doing for these last, 4 or 5 games. So, like you said, Keenum has lost a lot of his weapons, and from everything that I remember about Case Keenum just in general is that he is a guy that honestly, like you said, needs those weapons. He's a smart guy, veteran, but he needs his options, man. So I think we're facing Denver at the right time, especially with us having to go up to Denver, and we can kind of maybe play them in an easier way of how we kind of attack Carolina, right? With Carolina, we knew that Cam Newton wasn't going to be able to just sling it all over the place, but he had a bell cow of a running back and McCaffrey. Now we're kind of facing the same thing, except for the fact with Keenum, he's not as mobile as Cam Newton is. So we don't have to worry about that aspect as much. So we can really just zero in on Philip Lindsay and take him completely out of the whole offensive side of the ball.
The only thing that you have to worry about is, and you bring up a great comparison between this week and last week, the one thing you have to be careful about, though, with Case Keenum versus Cam Newton is, Keenum, I think, is actually smarter than Newton, to be honest. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that Cam Newton isn't smart. He's clearly smart. I mean, look at what he was able to do against us. He made some brilliant moves and still found the open guy. And he was able to utilize other weapons without Greg Olsen or any of those. But the thing is, there is something about Keenum that he's like a professor out there. So you have to, it's going to be interesting to see how Blake Williams plays Keenum in this regard.
Very true. Very true. So talking about the Denver offense, now the Denver defense, we know that they have some freaking people over there, man. Bradley Chubb, who has been connected to our franchise and probably will be forever because of the fact of how we drafted Baker number 1, and then instead of going for Bradley Chubb like everybody thought we were going to, we actually shocked the world and ended up with Denzel Ward at 4. Also on that side of the ball is, of course, Von Miller. I just named 2 scary names. What is it about this Denver defense, man, that concerns you? And let's go from there.
What concerns me is that front 7. I mean, let's be realistic here. You brought up, the thing is, this is a scary front seven, and I'll even go on record to say, if let's say the number two scariest defense was what we played last week, because as we saw, Kuechly had our number for the most part. This defense could be just as bad. So, the thing is, I look at it, I would say that when you talk about the top three defenses, that front seven, number one is Denver, number two is Carolina, number three is Houston in my mind. I know that's going to be weird, but Houston's front seven isn't what this group is right here. They have a better secondary, though. That said, I don't think. My problem is we need to protect against someone who's constantly in the MVP race, someone who's challenging for Rookie of the Year on the defensive side of the ball. That front seven is going to give Kitchens nightmares in my mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree. When I'm looking at Chubb and I'm looking at Von Miller, I'm seeing speed, just speed upon speed upon speed. And with the Houston defense, yeah, as much as they're very good, J.J. Watt is dominant. I see them being more powerful, more stronger than than Denver. But at the same time, like I said, they're both very formidable. It's going to be very key to see what these tackles do. I'm going to be looking at Greg Robinson. I'm going to be looking at Hubbard to see what he does. We're going to have to run a lot of quick passes, and we're going to have to – Baker can't sit back there and hold the ball. It just can't happen. So we're going to have to – go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do get a nice gift, though, and that is their secondary is beaten up.
Right. Yeah. And they had quite a few people on their injury list as well. Come to think about it, let me pull this back up again.
Well, two that I know off the top of my head are Chris Harris, who has a broken leg, and then Isaac Yeadham. The fact that you have two cornerbacks out right now, both of their starting cornerbacks, that puts them on an even playing field for what Baker could do. Now, you have to play smart, though, because those safeties are always watching.
Yeah, it looks like this week, like you said, Harris out. Isaac, you said Yeadham?
I think it's Yeadham, yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't practiced all week. Tremaine Brock is on their injury report. He's been limited. And then also, too, just throwing in there, Cortland Sutton has been limited this week as well. So, like I said, again, basically facing them at the right time. And we're going to hop over to Cleveland offense and defense as far as what we want to see from them. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll hop into that. This is Brownstown, USA, powered by the three-point conversion. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Robert Brazil, and I listen to the three-point conversion radio.
All right, and we are back. Just got done talking a little bit about the Denver defense. That's a lot of D's right there for you. But the Denver defense and also the Denver offense. We're gonna just keep moving here, and let's get into the Cleveland offense. So. Eric, the Cleveland offense, we're starting to look good. One point that I heard is that it seems like Jarvis is finally starting to get more comfortable. We already highlighted that he had a breakout game against the Panthers, one rushing, one receiving touchdown. But a good point that I heard is that Jarvis had looked a little uncomfortable since we let go of Haley. And because it seemed like in Haley's offense, Jarvis just got the ball like 10, 11 times a game. and then we just try to figure out what we could do from there. But in Kitchen's offense, you see Baker actually spreading out the ball a lot more, even though he trusts Landry. But we see 8 or 9 receivers sometimes pop up on the stat sheet.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think we're going to see from this Cleveland offense?
You know, given that it is the Denver front seven that really worries us, as we've said it, I think we're going to see the same strategy as last week. Air it out. Go balls deep. I mean, shut up. I just see, what do you call it? I just think Baker airs it out. I wouldn't be surprised if first offensive play of the game, we see a bomb to Perriman again, or a bomb to Jarvis Landry. I mean, we're going to go balls deep in the passing game.
Okay, so we'll see more of Baker's strong arm, which is definitely a good strategy. Again, like I said, when you're facing that front seven, I believe that what we're gonna need to see is some quick outs. We need to get them, back on their heels with seeing some of these quick outs and stuff. We know that their secondary is banged up, so if we can scare them, like you said, just coming out, throwing the ball down the field real fast, let them know that we're gonna test them, then they're going to be thinking that in their heads. And what that'll do is that'll open up the underneath stuff. That'll open up the run for Nick Chubb and really, really help us out there. Now, a question I want to ask you is that Duke really was non-existent again. And I know that this is going to span towards something else a little bit later. But are you expecting to see Duke in this game at all, or are we going to just see another Duke Johnson performance like we did last week?
I know that it's going to be painful for some people to hear this, and they're going to start saying, well, why do we keep him? I think it's going to be the same thing, because the fact of the matter is this. When you go against a powerful front seven like that, you need to have that workhorse back in there. And no offense to Duke, he's a great talent, and he knows how to catch the ball. We could see him in some kind of capacity, like as screen or as a wide receiver. But the thing is, you need to have Chubb in there because Chubb will push it up the middle. He can go to the outside, and he will wear out that front seven to the point that they'll make them tackle him. We've seen him. He's, I believe, second in yards after contact, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he'll wear them out, and then when they start the blitz, that's when you just throw right above go right up the middle.
Now, this is something that I tweeted out yesterday as well, Eric, with the whole Chubb running thing.
Yeah.
Is it the fact that, because when I was there at the game, I was getting very frustrated with the run game and also with the screen game, because it seemed like Chubb either outran his blockers or that the blockers weren't getting there. And a lot of times why we see Chubb, getting tackled in the backfield, we see Duke getting tackled in the backfield, or we see the fact that Chubb is breaking a lot of tackles, is because he doesn't have any blockers there. When they finally block for Chubb, we see those big 60-yard runs or 92-yard runs from him, but it seems like more often than not, the blockers aren't getting there to block the defenders. Chubb, every time he touches the ball, is going up and seeing one or two defenders before he even has a chance to make a move. Are you seeing that as well, or am I off base with that?
No, I think you are seeing it. I mean, it took me a little bit of time because I saw that tweet and went back. It's and I'm not comparing him to Barry Sanders here, but it was very Barry Sanders-esque. Like, I look at our 5 linemen. They're more of a, they're more of a pass block team. I mean, because I think one of the stats that's been shown, in the past 5 weeks, Baker's been sacked 4 times. Let that sink in. 4 times. I think the next closest team was 19. So it's more of a pass block team, which I'm all right with, to be honest. I want our rookie quarterback to stay upright and healthy. But it does take a toll, and you know what? I think it actually does work out in Chubb's advantage at times, because the thing is, while they're busy doing that, Chubb has always been, even in college, someone who does better when he has people that are in front of him.
I hear you, and it's real good that, and I'm not complaining about the line, because we've had so much worse in prior years, and and even the line has looked terrible this season at first too. So it's just good that they are keeping Baker upright with a combination of better pass blocking and a combination of Baker just knowing the field and having good pocket presence as well. So I'm not going to take that away from Baker, because we've seen us have rookie quarterbacks like Tim Couch and stuff like that just absolutely leave out the league punch drunk because they've been hit so many times. So definitely grateful for that. Now, as far as Cleveland offense, what player are you looking to have that breakout game?
This is, you know what? I hate to even use the cop-out. This has to be Baker's game, though. This week has to be the Baker's game, because while our offensive line is gonna need to step up their game, I just look at what we had last year with DeShone Kizer, and the biggest problem with him was he could not let go of the ball. And it's funny because I know people were like, well, it's the offensive line's fault. I was counting 4 and 5 second. I was actually counting 4 and 5 second pocket protection, which is what you need to be a quarterback and be successful as a quarterback. Because the average, I believe, is you get 3 seconds before you get hit. I just remember going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he still had time, and he had a little bit of time. He just looked like a deer in the headlights. Baker hasn't done that, but if he can't expect that kind of pocket in Denver. So he's going to have to take full control right here.
Yeah, I'm actually going to side with the same thing, that this is Baker's game as well. I'm going to side with it that in this game, I feel like he's going to have to learn to take what the defense gives him in this game too. A lot of times we see Baker wanting the big play every single time, and I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with him looking for it. But sometimes he's going to have to know, okay, I'm going to have to take the 6 or 7 yarder instead of maybe tossing it downfield for that 30 yarder. And taking what the defense gives him, because if he can continue to just carve them up, whether it's by little gains or whether it's by big gains, it'll help out with that pass rush. And that's what he's going to have to know. So this is going to have to be Baker's game. I think this is going to be a game that will really be able to see either Baker come out and just boom, or I'm going to say bust. And I'm not going to say bust as far as like he's a draft bust or anything like that. We're not going to go overboard that way. But I'm saying as far as that he could have a game where we see him look absolutely fantastic, or he could go back into that 3 or 4 interception type game that we've seen him have as well. So that's what I'm going to be looking forward to. Now, what we're going to do real quick is we're going to take another quick break. We're going to hop into Cleveland defense, okay? So you're listening to Brownstown USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back. And we are back. This is Brownstown USA, and I'm LA, and across from me is Eric. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Brownstown USA and check out our Facebook group at Brownstown USA. We are powered by the 3-Point Conversion, which I know you've heard us say so many times, and you're like, what is the 3-Point Conversion? Well, the 3-Point Conversion is where fans' opinions matter, an amazing website, and also what powers this podcast. So make sure you hop over to the 3pointconversion.com. Check out some articles. I just seen one released today on Duke's Zion Williamson, so should be a good one. Make sure you go check that out. Also, follow the 3-Point Conversion on all your major social media platforms at 3PTCN VRSN. So, getting back into it, just got done talking about the Cleveland offense. The Cleveland defense, Eric. The Cleveland defense. Now, we have talked about them so much as far as the fact of what they needed to improve. We keep hearing this statement over and over again, bend but not break. And we know that we have a key injury in that secondary with Denzel Ward, of course, but we already said that we're not too concerned about it, which is actually pretty phenomenal for us to say that when you're missing a star caliber player like that, but it is what it is. So with the Cleveland defense, Eric, what are you looking for from that defense?
What I'm looking for is I'm actually looking for more of a stout secondary this week. I mean, look, that's the only way you can beat Denver in this situation. I mean, most teams we can go ahead and say we have to play aggressive. Like Cam Newton, we had to get to him before anything happened, and we saw Myles Garrett do that often. When you're playing Denver, you have to play conservatively because the thing is, Keenum's got a good arm. Keenum knows how to control the field, and he's got a running back that can quickly change the pace of the game. So you have to be able to be conservative to the point that you can get it to your ability. This is probably the one time you'll ever hear me say, play conservatively. Don't be too overly aggressive in this game.
Okay. I'm going to say what I'm looking for is tackling, okay? Freaking tackle the player. Phillip Lindsay, we've seen that he can hurt you. Last week when we played against McCaffrey, I understand how elusive he is. I get it, and we've seen some pretty good running backs within these past couple weeks. But some of this stuff has just been inexcusable. We've seen it in the Houston game where they were back there and they got to Deshaun Watson multiple times, but they weren't able to wrap him up. And it's been the same thing every single week. Now, we thought, and Greg Williams has come out in press conferences and talked about it, about tackling. But it really hasn't gotten that much better. Maybe, the second or third guy finally gets there and wraps him up. But we've seen with McCaffrey. McCaffrey a couple of times, man, could have been tackled behind the line of scrimmage. And instead, he was able to bounce off one tackler and get back to the line of scrimmage or even gain 2 to 3 to 4 yards because we're missing tackles. So that's really what I'm going to be about, especially if you're going to use this bend but don't break type thing. If you're going to use that, you're going to have to tackle that first time that you get to the ball. And that's just really what it's going to be about there.
Oh, without a doubt. And the other thing is, and I hate to say this, there's one person we need to step up this week, and that's Jamie Collins. I mean, not to be that guy, but...
No, you are the guy.
Yeah, here's my thing. Collins has been one of the streakiest players this year. I mean, he's had, and in his games, he's either been really good or he's just been, And the best way to put it, Raphael uses a phrase, and you know exactly what it is. Garbage watch. Look, I like Jamie Collins, and I get that Greg Williams does too. He's got to be starting to play like his job's on the line because I remember it was you that said earlier this year he was on the trading block. If he doesn't pick up the pace, there's a couple players in the draft that I think Ian Dorsey could have his eye on, whether you're talking about Josh Allen from Kentucky or, well, that's the only one I can think of that comes to mind at this point. But he's got to step it up right now because we have 3 games left, and in those 3 games we're going against a surprise top running back. We're going against a team that he did well against, but that's because they don't look that great, and that's the Bengals. And then we're going against someone that's playing with a purpose in Baltimore. So if Collins is going to need to step it up, and this is the first step and probably the hardest step.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Collins has been hot and cold all season. We've either been extremely pleased with him or we've been like, what the heck was that? Okay. And that is not something that we want out of a veteran. It's not something that we want out of a guy that we're paying the big bucks to. I definitely feel like he may be a top candidate for trade bait this offseason or for just an overall release. We have so much cap space right now. So I really feel like that Dorsey will bring in somebody to upgrade our linebacking core, most definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, considering that I know this is bad given all the tackling problems, Joe Schobert's just taken over that linebacking core. How? When this was supposed to be Collins' linebacking core, if you remember. When we first got him, this was supposed to be Collins' group. It wasn't supposed to be Kirksey's group while we had him and he was still healthy. It wasn't supposed to be Schobert's squad. It was supposed to be the court of Collins. Right now, Collins looks more like the jester right now.
Yeah, I agree. And the crazy part with Schobert is like as good as he is, he's still limited in a lot of ways. What we're needing from that linebacker core is some solid linebackers that can do well in coverage as well. And that's just not what we're seeing. Schobert, as great as he is, and I love the guy, he's limited athletically. I mean, we need more athletic linebackers there that can cover the field, and that's been our Achilles heel this season. So, Eric, just like as I asked you for the offense, man, who are you looking to have that breakout player on defense?
The breakout player this week, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I believe it's going to need to be Emmanuel Ogbah here. Look, they're going to find the Denver front line, the Denver offensive line, is going to be putting all their eggs in the Myles Garrett basket. Let's just be realistic with that, because Myles Garrett is the major threat. Yeah, and they'll probably have tight ends and running backs in on Schobert and Collins. No offense, I trust Schobert more than I do Collins right now. So I'm not going to rely on him. Ogbah's going to need to get in there, though. If he can't if he can't get at least a little bit of pressure, we're doomed. Ogbah is one. I know we just talked about Collins being that, but I think Ogbah is another one that we could see potentially. I mean, I hate to say it, I love Ogbah. I almost bought his jersey a couple years ago, but he's kind of dropped off.
Yeah, again, I don't think Ogbah dropped off necessarily, but I think he's doing a good job as far to me on that line. But I do agree with you saying that we're gonna need to see him step up because especially with non-mobile quarterbacks, they tend to step up in the pocket because the pass rush is coming around on the edges, so they tend to step up in the pocket. So we need for him to be able to move that line forward to create pressure up the middle, so he'll be able to step back and it'll be easy pickings for Myles Garrett and company. So definitely look for him to do that. I'm be looking for Ogunjobi again with that injury. Definitely want to see what kind of impact he brings to the game. When Ogunjobi is healthy, we already know what he brings, but we've seen that he's still been able to affect the game too, still with being injured, and so I want to see what he's able to do for us there. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will get to what you've all been waiting for, the Doggy Bag segment. And the Doggy Bag segment is where we answer questions from you, the fans. So we will be right back. This is Brownstown, USA. And we are back, and what you've all been waiting for is our Doggy Bag segment. Our Doggy Bag segment is where we go out and we ask you guys to ask us questions. And like I said, you can do this at any point of the week. It doesn't matter. Ask us questions. We will put it in the Doggy Bag. And if it makes the cut, we'll read it on air and we'll address your questions. So how can you do that, you say? Well, you can follow us on Twitter at BrownsTownsUSA. Or you can hop on Facebook and follow our group at BrownsTownsUSA. And when we put up the post for Doggy Bag question, put it in there. Or you could just ask us a question and hit hashtag doggybag. We can do it that way as well. But make sure you holler at us, DM us, message us, whatever you need to do. But get at us with these doggy bag questions. We do it every single week on our pregame show. So thank you again to the fans. You guys are making it happen. So, Eric, as I always do, I'm going to throw it over to you and hit us with some questions, brother.
Alrighty, well, the first question we have comes from Aunt Aerosmith from the Dog Bone Group, who, if you haven't checked it out, it's almost as cool as Brownstown USA. So
Almost.
he wants to know, and he wants to ask, let's talk about the kicker situation. Do you think Greg Joseph is the answer, or should we draft one, or even dig in free agency?
I think that the kicker situation will be handled just like we handle it every single year, and that is by probably drafting one in the later rounds, or even possibly just bringing in one off the, as an undrafted free agent, and having a kicker competition in the training camp. I figure that's how we're going to do it. I don't think that Greg Joseph is the long-term answer. He's just not that sexy of a pick for me. But I will say that he is doing a lot better than what we had prior to. And so I definitely thank him for that.
I've got to agree. I mean, look, I like Greg Joseph. I think he's actually a pretty good kicker, but...
Yeah, I think he's like 85% on the season right now.
Yeah, which compared to Zane Gonzalez, who just hooked everything. The problem is with Joseph, I just don't think he's fantastic. I mean, I look at the past few years, and, well, I look at, say, for example, Cody Parkey, who we let go. That one hurt. Travis Coons for a year with the Saints was pretty good. The problem is, when you consider that one of the better kickers, I think he's like the second or third ranked kicker in the draft, attends the University of Ohio, that just screams temptation. Not to mention, I think there's one guy that would potentially look at us now, after this season that was like, oh, hell no, when we tried to contact him the first time, and you know exactly who that is.
Yeah, wasn't it?
It was Dan Bailey.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dan Bailey, which I don't think he's doing too hot himself either right now.
No, it's hard to kick in Minnesota, though, is the thing, because, well.
But this is honestly the off season of kickers. There are some big name kickers that will hit the market this year. So, like I said again, whether we do an undrafted free agent or whether we do a free agent just regular, I think Greg Joseph will actually have competition.
My one thing is, and I'm just going to say this right now, no, I do not think we're bringing Phil Dawson back.
No, even though that would be a great feel-good story.
Honestly, I think he'd sign a one-day contract. But anyways, let's move on. Okay, Baker needs 623 yards passing to reach 3,500 for the season, as well as 8 to break the rookie touchdown record. Nick Chubb needs 240 yards in 3 games to reach 1,000 yards. Which do you think is easier to get?
I think it's easier for, of course, Chubb, and I think it's easier for Baker to get it with yardage. That touchdown, I think, is going to be a lot harder for him just because we only have 3 games left, and we've seen where Baker can literally have a game where he'll have 4 touchdowns in one game, or how we've seen this past week against the Panthers, he only had 1. And we're still able to win because he's doing and the team is doing whatever we need to do to win, and we're not really chasing stats or anything like that. And then also, too, the wide receivers haven't helped him out really when it comes to touchdowns. They will get yardage for him, but they don't score crazy enough. We've seen Hollywood Higgins drop that touchdown pass, which would have gave Baker 2, and then that Brashad Perriman play
That
could
should
have
have been
easily
a
been
touchdown.
that could have been a touchdown too, but it was just a little bit far out, so he kind of lost his footing when he was running. So I don't think the receivers will do Baker any favors when it comes to the touchdown part, but I could see it for yardage for him and for Chubb.
I can see it for yardage for Baker, but because the thing is, I crunch the numbers. Baker's averaging 2 touchdowns a game. That, to me, unless he balls out, is going to be hard. Meanwhile, Nick Chubb, he's averaging about 83 yards a game since he took over starting duties. Since he needs 240 yards rushing to get to 1,000, multiply that by 3, he could easily break that, but he needs to stay on average is the big point. And going against the Ravens and the Broncos, that's going to be hard. Forget about Cincinnati for a moment. The Broncos and the Ravens are where he's going to have to do it.
Well, the crazy part is that thank God we got Cincinnati because he could get probably like 200 yards in that one game.
That is true. All right, let's see. Mike McCarthy or Bruce Arians?
Arians.
Yeah, I gotta go Bruce. I mean, look, Arians is our. If we're gonna go ahead and play this card right now, McCarthy, we don't know what we're getting because we could either get the really good McCarthy who actually is a quarterback whisperer, or we could be getting McCarthy who's going to change everything around, take over everything, and just not be great with it. Arians has already come out and said he wants Freddie Kitchens to stay. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about what we heard, prior to coming on the show. And there's a link circulating around. I think I retweeted it on BrownsTownsUSA, but that Bruce Arians' son said on a podcast that he feels that they'll hire Mike McCarthy. The Browns will hire Mike McCarthy, and that seemed a little puzzling to us. I know with me, that's crazy that you would, just come out and speak against your father like that. Secondly, we've seen with John Dorsey time and time again that you cannot believe any kind of rumors when it surrounds this organization whatsoever. So for Bruce Arians' son to know anything, I really doubt that, period. But, I mean, he even went on a limb to say that he felt that they would have a deal in place by Black Monday. I think that's what he said, which if you don't know what Black Monday is the Monday where head coaches get fired. I believe it comes, after the last week of the NFL?
Yep, literally it's the Monday right after Week 17.
Right. So he said he feels that Mike McCarthy will be hired by the Browns on Black Monday, and I just really cannot see that at all with the way that John Dorsey operates, that he would be privy to any type of information of that nature whatsoever. So I don't know. I mean, let me ask you, Eric, do you feel that it's like maybe he was trying to throw some kind of, I don't know, weird magical cloud out there? So maybe Dorsey would be like, oh, maybe Mike McCarthy is a leaker of information, so I don't want him. What do you see anything like that?
I mean, that's always a potential because, well, we knew that McCarthy was getting fired almost by week 1 this year because Packers fans are just not happy with him. But there's something else here that I think he is going off of, and this is going to sound weird, but I think Arians' son is going off the fact that the Browns could have hired him twice, I believe it was, to be the head coach. He had 2 opportunities to, and both times they've elected for somebody else. The first time, I believe, was Romeo Crennel. And then the second time, I want to say Eric Mangini, I think, but that's the thing. I mean, I think he's just going off past experiences. So if that makes sense, I think that what?
I said he's just a little scared, a little frightened.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, John Dorsey, as much as him and the rest of the brain trust do know that Mike McCarthy was their guy and hired him the first time around. This was back when we didn't know anything about Bruce Arians, really. We didn't know that he would become that must-have head coach in Indianapolis when he took over for Pagano. We didn't know he was going to be that must-have, that holy crap, what did we miss with this Arizona team? Because a lot of people say that the Arizona, and they walk into a good situation in Arizona, and that he's just trying to walk into a good situation here. There's no such thing as a good situation in the NFL. And clear proof of that is the defending Super Bowl champions right now. You remember how good of a situation they were saying that Carson Wentz was going to have when he came back? How's that working out?
Yeah, and that's crazy because of the fact that, just the injuries with Carson Wentz and all of that. But be that as it may, we both went with Arians in this one just because I know, too, that – and we don't know if Greg Williams was being real about this, but Greg Williams has expressed and said that if he doesn't be head coach, he still doesn't mind being a coordinator or anything like that just because he just loves the game of football. So if that is the case and we do have to move forward with a different head coach other than Greg Williams, I would love Arians to be there because I feel that not only did he say he would leave Kitchens there, but he would also really, really consider just leaving Williams there, and then therefore you don't see that much of a turnover at all.
Not to mention, and I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna get a lot of hate. I kind of would prefer Arians over Williams a little bit. Look, I like Greg Williams. I know people are saying, well, why are you trying to fix something that's not broken? End of the day, it's still kind of broken. I mean, not for nothing. Williams has done a good job, but the defense is not looking great still right now. I mean, it's actually looked a little bit worse since he took over the head coaching job and let Blake take the defensive job. The offense is what's been driving this team. Wow. There's some words I never thought I'd say for a long time. The offense has been taking control, and we've been mesmerized by that. The defense is struggling, though. And I don't know if it's just because they're still on the field more, or if it's just that there's something up with it. But there needs to be something done, and I think Arians would be the answer at this point.
Well, there it is. What else we got in there?
Let's see. Am I the only one that thinks our draft picks need to be some offensive linemen?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I think that's another area of the football team that you can't have too many guys at. I mean, you draft a guy, you bring him in, and you give him a shot in training camp, and like they said, you play the best five. You play the best five out there and get it going. We've seen that this previous training camp, and crazy enough is we didn't think Greg Robinson would contribute anything, and then now all of a sudden, now he's there and he's looking good. And remember, Greg Robinson is only 26 years old. Crazy enough, he's the same age as Desmond Harrison. So, you never know what pans out. So I'd rather have too much than too little, especially with keeping some on the practice squad or maybe having some just on the roster in case one goes down, man. We need it, and we've seen that we do need some good backups. We've seen Austin Corbett, he's out and has been out. We've seen the ankle sprain that J.C. Tretter's been going through. So we definitely need more than less when it comes to that.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing is with this, I know someone's going to say, well, I meant that, and with a high draft. Here's my thing. I think that Robinson has some stuff to still work on, but I think it is manageable, to be honest. I mean, I'm not going to say first round we should go get the guy from Ole Miss, Greg Little. I would actually be more comfortable waiting until the second, third round and grabbing either a Micah Hyatt from Clemson or what's his name from Trey Adams. Look, the thing is, we all know that Corbett's probably going to take over center. If not next year, then the year after, because Tretter's contract is up after the 2019 season. But, that left tackle spot, if you think that there's somebody here that can make it better, then go out and do it. The one thing I'm going to say, though, is I would not take it with our first-round pick just because we have other needs, whether it's you decide to get rid of Jamie Collins, you're going to need to get a linebacker. If you really feel, and if one of the wide receivers is standing out, I know you don't like that, but you go out and grab them. Or you go out and you get a defensive tackle, whether it's Christian Wilkinson or Raekwon Davis. You gotta prioritize. And the thing is, left tackle at the beginning of the year was a priority. This point of the season, I'm feeling more comfortable, and it's probably slidden from like a top 5 spot to maybe 5th or 6th.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying there. Again, it's nothing to really harp too much over, and we'll go over this more in our Browns off-season show. But yeah, it's definitely something to look at. So, what else you got?
Let's see. We got time for one, and let's say one more, and it's probably been one of the weirder ones that we've gotten. With the success of Chubb, do you still think giving Duke that extension was a good idea? Why is he not being utilized?
Well, let me go to answer the first part of that question. Yes, it still was a good idea to give him an extension. When we gave Duke an extension, we were at peril at the running back position. We didn't really know what the heck was going on. And he was our best performer at the time. So, yes, the extension was good. Now, Duke has unfortunately been a product of people not knowing how to use them. Remember, we had Haley, and we thought Haley would be a good fit for Duke because, Haley had Le'Veon Bell at one point. So we thought, hey, we would know how to use Duke in space and get him out and split him out and all this other stuff, and we've seen flashes of it. But then offense changed up again, and I still really don't feel like we know and are properly utilizing Duke. However, I think that something is going on with Duke. I think that him not getting the ball that much at the beginning of the season and being unhappy, I think that really messed with his mentality. So he definitely was like trending down as far as his mood and just his focus on football. And then, of course, him losing his grandmother didn't help at all either. So it's a combination of things with Duke. And I really, honestly, Eric, Duke is a curious case to me, man.
Like, that's exactly what it is. First off, I think that when you do talk about it, you have to realize that he did deserve the extension just because the past 2 years he was our major offensive weapon. I know there's someone saying, well, Josh Gordon, who gives a damn? He was never on the field. Terrell Pryor! What's he done? Is he really that much of a Cleveland folk legend? Because, to be quite honest, everyone's forgotten about him, and the ones that want him back are the same people that think we should draft a kicker in the first round. But the thing is, I think Duke did deserve the extension. That said, though, the reason why he's not being utilized, right, is exactly what he said. He's being underutilized. I mean, they don't know how to use him. And when they do know how to use him, he's rusty. I mean, let's be honest. We've started to see him do some screen passes. Where was this earlier? I mean, he looks lost when he gets the ball at times. He had that one great game where he had a couple touchdowns, and he was making some receptions. A few weeks ago, I believe it was against the Texans of all teams. It might have been the Bengals, but that's beside
I think it's the Bengals.
Yeah, it was against the Bengals. He was making plays, and it was starting to look like it was going to happen, but I think the other thing with it is Duke is a hard back to work with is the big thing. He's not the type of, he's a prototype running back that isn't like Le'Veon Bell. Bell actually is a strong runner. Not saying Duke isn't, but Duke is built more like a wide receiver. Duke plays more like a wide receiver. He just so happens to be a running back. But I look at him as just that. He's essentially another wide receiver, but he's built like a running back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, just want to say shout out to you guys, the fans. Great questions this week. Get those questions into us. Again, Twitter at BrownsTownsUSA, Facebook, the Facebook group BrownsTownsUSA. Make sure you come join us. We are trending up in both areas, and every Tuesday, it looks like on Twitter, we'll have a Browns Follow Train Tuesday. So make sure you hop on that. Now, when we return, we're going to give out our score predictions and what we feel like is going to happen in this Denver game, and then we'll close out the show. So, again, thanks for listening. This is Brownstown, USA, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Gary Payton. Y'all listen to 3-Point Conversion Radio. It's the bomb.
And we are back, Brownstown, USA. And I'm your man, LA. And across from me is Eric, a.k.a. Stoshball. And I'm laughing because it looks like Stephen A. basically kind of just messed up on the show this morning, talking about the Chiefs game tonight and brought up a player, Hunter Henry, who hasn't played all year. And now, just because of that, Hunter Henry is trending on Twitter right now.
Ha ha. You know what? No offense. I shouldn't be laughing, but I am because it's Stephen A. Smith, and I think he's hot. He's hot garbage. No offense, Stephen A., but, dude, you are a product of, and you are probably one of the worst things to happen to ESPN that's not named Skip Bayless.
Okay, so real quick before we get into our score predictions, I'm going to tell you that you're hot garbage, and actually Stephen A. is one of my heroes because the fact is that Stephen A. at this point in time currently is playing the part, okay? They gave him a lot of money to come onto a show and do what he does against Skip Bayless, and Skip Bayless played the part too. But what a lot of people don't understand is that both of them gentlemen actually put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears writing and covering for a lot of teams back in the day. So they're good and they know their stuff. But at the end of the day, now ESPN is paying them to be in this kind of role and to have that kind of role. So now people want to call them hot garbage. But look, they're getting dollars for it. So I don't mind it. I'm not knocking the hustle.
Look, I'll be honest. I like them as analysts and writers. I do not think that they're that great for that type of show, though, personally. I'll say this. It's just my personal thing. I like them both better than Colin Cowherd, though.
Look, all I'm saying is ESPN giving them money for it, so get that paper. Anywho, score predictions, Eric. Now, we go and we face these Denver Broncos, Mile High. Is it 8 or 8:30?
What?
Is it 8 or 8:30?
It's 8. I think
Okay.
it's 8:20, isn't it?
8:20. Mile High, 8:20. Prime time. Who do you have winning?
I'll be honest. If we didn't win last week, I would have said Denver. But because Denver is essentially I'll be honest, I think that they play more aggressively on defense in terms of the front seven, but they have a weaker secondary right now because of all the injuries. I think Cleveland could go in and get the upset. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say I think this is going to be a very low-scoring game, though. I'm going to go ahead and say 17 to – I'm going to say 20 to 14 Browns.
Okay. I had my score pretty much around the same way. I was gonna say 21-13 Browns. I think we can go in there and we can upset them. I seen another stat, and forgive me guys if I'm wrong for this, but I thought I seen it where Denver was on a 10-game like losing home streak or something crazy when it comes to Saturday night games or something weird. I thought I saw out there. So the numbers aren't. Or no, I'm sorry. I think it's the opposite. That Cleveland hasn't won 10 games going into Denver, but we've seen that Baker has been very adamant about breaking streaks. Like he's all about that. So even though it's going to be a tough game, even though we know about the weather and the air and everything else that they always say about Denver, I think Browns can go in there and do it, man. I really do, and I'm afraid, Eric, because I put my heart into this Browns team at times, as far as wanting to say that they'll win, and we picked them last week against the Panthers. We did. And I think that they can do it this week as well. I'm scared, though.
I'll be honest. I don't blame you. I mean, look, the crazy thing is let me throw out a stat to you if it makes you feel more comfortable. The past 3 weeks, we've had a winning streak for this because we both said that we were going to beat the Panthers last week. We both said that we were going to lose to the Texans the week before. And we both said that we were going to beat the Bengals the week before. And then we had the bye week. I don't remember personally what we said for the bye week. Or for the week before the bye week. So we've got our own little winning streak right now.
We do. That we do. So, with that being said, we both are going with the Browns to pull off the upset. Hopefully we come to you post-game with a victory Sunday, which is the first time we can say that in a long time, a victory Sunday. And we'll go from there. So, again, I'm LA. Across from me is Eric, and we definitely thank you guys for listening and tuning into Brownstown USA. Please make sure that you give us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to it. It definitely helps to go towards and show other people how good the show is. So make sure you rate us and give us a review. And make sure you follow us, Twitter and Facebook, Brownstown USA. So thank you guys very much. And we are out of here.
Deuces, word to your mother.